So the honest answer is I've never seen any advertising for TM.
Have you not been on the website?
Yes, but that's a website. That's not advertising. The website is a website. The website is a shop, okay? If your website is a shop and nobody walks past your shop, how can we find it? That's where the advertising comes in. The advertising needs to guide me to your shop. I don't just find it. You know, if, for example, let me just do a little test here, okay? So if, for example, what would happen if I put meditation in general into Google, what comes up? So what comes up is mindful, how to meditate mindful. Headspace. See, everything I'm seeing here is headspace. There's nothing on page 1 about TM. So
wow.
what Headspace is doing is they advertise. The reason why they are on page 1 on Google here is because they advertise. And I'm just putting in the general term meditation, which is what people look for, because unless you know about TM, you don't even know what it's called. So you would logically just go into Google and say, I want to learn how to meditate, okay? And what you come across is advertisements from Headspace. And here's a company called Mindful, they advertise. So my question for you then is, where is your advertising? Because you've got the shop is open, the shop is the TM website, but how do you guide people to your website to understand that there is, you know, I watched one of the
Bob Roth.
Yeah, Bob Ross videos.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about 3 different types of meditation, right? The one where you concentrate on a thought, and then there's another one where you kind of thinking about a thought and thinking about your breathing and everything else. Yeah. And then there's TM. Mm-hmm. Now, how many people know about this?
Yeah, people don't realize that mindful. Well, there is something very quick answer that might actually help you if you are actually talking about TM. And people do ask the difference between mindfulness, which is what the first 2, well, the middle one is anyway. Yeah. It's about contemplating and about being in the now, trying to be in the now, but still you're active. The frontal cortex is still active.
Yes.
And so therefore what happens in TM and why it's so different is that the frontal cortex, or this gotta do mind, linked in with the medulla, with the stress response, is still active in mindfulness, but in TM it goes offline. But the frontal cortex goes offline. It goes into like an idling mode.
Yeah.
And in that idling mode is where you take your deep rest, that mental bath. Yeah. And that's the main difference. And you come out of that totally rejuvenated, like you've had a good night's sleep, and you're really raring to go. And that's why the business people that are in business that do TM absolutely swear by it. And it's the next step up. No TM teacher would tell anybody not to do mindfulness. It's very useful.
Yeah, but that's not the point here. The point is we're talking about advertising.
Yes.
And so how do people find you? If I have an interest in meditation, how would I find you? How do you advertise to me?
Well, actually, this is slightly lateral, but mindfulness is doing its work for us. Doing that work for us in some way, because people come to TM from mindfulness because they want to go that much deeper. They want a deeper experience. They know that there's a vast ocean of consciousness that they're not actually tapping into.
So once I've done the mindfulness program and I'm not quite satisfied with it because it's not doing the job that I want.
Well, then they research a little bit more. They will go to page 2. And everybody now is hearing a little bit about TM from different sources, because most of the celebrities do it. You know, it's just the establishment goes to, the celebrities go to, etc. But the advertising that we do is on Facebook. We actually flood an area, a certain postcode, with the fact there's going to be an intro talk the following week, etc. And they show a little video as well, often Bob Roth.
Okay, great.
who's
So
the
that's
California teacher. Yeah.
so you do advertise on Facebook, and is that where you get your leads from? That's how you fill your seminars, yeah?
Most of them I do, yes. But before, when I was away I was living in South America and Costa Rica and Central America for a while, and so I wasn't with the movement, and I hadn't recertified. There was no advertising done, and so I had to do all my own, make my own leaflets, be creative.
Yeah,
And I've lost that ability. Got lazy and relied on the Facebook.
yeah, yeah.
So that is, I think most TM teachers will have that. They need to still go out there and do their own local advertising. That's my feeling, and that's again where you come in, I believe.
Well, yeah. And so the question for me would be then, how many times have you been out to do advertising for yourself? When was the last time that you know, leaflet drop and do advertising in your area to get people to your
Yeah,
seminars?
not. I've been recertified with the TM movement. I've been with the TM movement since 1993. I've been meditating since 1976,
Yeah,
but I've been a teacher since 1993. And then when I left the country and I was on my own, I was making my own leaflets, etc. And since I've been recertified with the TM movement,
yeah,
and by the way, I should explain what that is. But since I've been recertified, I haven't, you're absolutely right, I haven't done any of that. I've just relied on the Facebook and the website for the TM movement.
yeah,
So, yeah, the main reason for me coming back into the TM movement was, although I taught lots of world travelers while I was abroad, and very influential people, um, I I did tell them that they wouldn't be able to go into a normal TM center. Nevertheless, human nature being what it is, they still tried to get in. They tried to get into the LA center or the Sydney center to
yeah,
have their meditation checked, etc. And they'd say, "Oh, who taught you?" And the person would say, "Oh, Will Treend from Portsmouth." Well, I wasn't in Portsmouth then, but it doesn't
yeah,
matter. For a
yeah,
while, I was still independent in Portsmouth,
yeah,
and they said, "Oh, sorry, he's not recertified. We have to keep the teaching pure. Independent teachers are not regulated,
yeah,
so we can't let you in, unfortunately." And that made me squirm, Andreas,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I had a personal relationship with these people. They really relied on me and my sincerity, etc.
yeah,
And though I told them the truth, they still weren't happy about that. And they
yeah.
weren't victimizing me or anything, but I felt
I
bad.
can understand that. I can understand that.
Mm.
So if we would turn that then around, Will, and going back to, you know, your perception of how much is charged for the service,
Yeah.
if we could ramp up your marketing and it would be that efficient that you would have people queuing up at your seminar, and you would then be able to book perhaps 2 trainings a day or 1 training a day with one, so you would effectively have 5 students a week that you would then be able to teach TM. Would that create a living for you?
Let me explain a little bit about how it works. When I do an introductory talk, it's usually maybe 5 or 6 or maybe 10 people who turn up. Out of that, or book for it, and out of that, 7 might turn up. Out of those 7 that turn up, maybe 4 will learn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now those 4 that want to learn, we try and get them to learn on the same day. They have a private session on that very first day where they bring some fruit and flowers and a clean white cloth.
Yeah,
And this is all part of the Vedic tradition. They quite like it. They love going around and finding the nicest flowers and nicest fruit, etc. And
yeah,
that's their part that they play, just as they did thousands of years ago. Remember, TM is 10,000 years old at least,
yeah,
and it's an ancient tradition,
yeah,
And every TM teacher's contract with Maharishi is just one thing: keep the teaching pure.
yeah,
So my only contract with Maharishi is to keep this teaching pure. So we do follow that Vedic ritual, and they have a little ceremony after they bring their fruit and flowers and handkerchief. We use that in a little ceremony, and then they get their mantra after the ceremony, and then how to use it. And then 3 days after that, 3 sessions after that, we're
yeah.
actually telling them more about the technique. So slowly, slowly, it's a very slow, blissful unfoldment of this beautiful knowledge of supreme empowerment.
Okay, so in this supreme empowerment, what would be the maximum number of people you could take through this initiation?
Yes, well, as I said, for me in the Isle of Wight, it's a small cottage where I live.
Yeah.
4 people, maybe 5.
Okay.
And that's 5 hours work or 6 hours work in that Saturday, supposing they learn on a Saturday. But then they all come together in a group after that.
Okay, so if you can do 4
so it's for 4 days off, yeah.
Okay,
3 days.
So if we do that every weekend, we would have 4 or 5 people that you could teach.
Mm-hmm.
Would that then create an income for you that is enough?
Not if they were all on the bottom prices, which on the Isle of Wight they tend to be.
Okay, so then you could be at on the top price or the middle one, or
yeah, I mean
okay,
the prices are. I'll say what the prices are. If you're earning under 25,000, it's £390. Over 25,000, it's £490. Over 40,000, it's £590. That's the basic. And people just tick the box. And then if somebody's really desperately poor, there is another lower concessionary price for £290.
Yeah. So even
and
if
children learn at £190, and sometimes free if the parents learn. Well, they're always free if the parents learn. Yeah.
All right. So even if we would fill your even if we fill your order book with people coming in wanting to learn TM, and you have a capacity of 5 a weekend, it would still not be enough money for you to sustain yourself as an independent TM teacher based on the different pricing structures. So
not the way life is today. No, there's a lot. But yeah.
Okay, so you do need to make more money. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And the question was, do you think we charge enough? Well, that's you just answered that question. Obviously not.
Right.
Obviously not. Otherwise, you would be able to make a living. If we would have the principle of a single price, let's say, for example, you charge £500 for your TM teaching, and some people might be able to pay that all at once, the higher income groups, while some people, the lower income groups, may say, I don't have £500. Well, what would be the option for them then to say, okay, I can pay you £50 for the next 10 months, and therefore I can still pay you the £500. That would be the way that, I mean, would that be acceptable?
Just run that by me again. I didn't quite catch the.
Okay, so let's just imagine for one second that you have a single price, and that single price in the UK is £500 for the teaching.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, that's your price. And so we imagine now that you have now the higher income groups who are able to pay that all in one go. They wouldn't have to pay installments. But then the very low income groups would probably have to take out installments, either 10 months or 6 months or 3 months. It depends obviously on how fluid they are with their money. But would that help you with your situation?
No, I think that the empowering thing is what needs to communicate, and I think you told me this as well, to get the whole thing done as quickly as possible, get the payment done, have people save until they can pay for it, and not have an installment which is a debt. Installments are like a debt, and it's like a shadow that's hanging over you.
Okay.
And often people don't go through with the installments. It's a law. The law is very ambiguous on that.
That's an interesting thought you have there, because a lot of our life now works completely on installments. Our cars we drive, our mobile phones we use, everything is working on installments. So it has become a way of life too, because who has got £1,200 in their pocket to buy a brand new iPhone? Not that many people, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or how many people have got £30,000 in their pocket to buy a brand new car? Not many people. So if you do it the way that you're thinking, that people have to save up for it, how many people would then be able to actually afford the service? And
I know, it's just an ideal that I've got, and I think it's misplaced. Yes, I think you're right. I think that may, if whoever looks at this video, they may well take that on board. Yeah, and so they go. You know, what you're saying is go for everything is at the top price, $590, and then the people that are on lowest income would pay installments. Yeah, okay. They would have to do it in a very strict way through a company, but then these companies want commissions, don't they? It's a tricky one. The finance companies want commissions for doing that, for collecting that money.
Yeah, but couldn't that not be built into the price?
I guess it could be.
I mean,
Yes, I guess
look
it
at
could
other
be.
companies. Look at these big phone companies like Vodafone or O2. Or they all have found a way to do it, to put it into their contract.
Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying though? We want to keep that. It's a bit not softness, but not hard-headed business like. There's somehow we've got to reframe that. Keep the structure like you said, but somehow reframe it. I'll have a chat with you about that sometime. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or if you come up with some ideas, and to remember this video, if it goes out and I send it to put it on the governor's net, TM governor's net, and some of the questions when you review the recording of this, if you have any answers that you'd like to add, then I would add that, written.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at it, the way that I'm looking at is from a business perspective. If you want to make a living out of it, what needs to happen to enable you to actually turn this into, a lifestyle business that would enable you to make enough money to sustain yourself and your lifestyle? That's what I'm looking at. And that's why I'm having these questions for you. What would need to happen to enable you to do that?
I think we got to aim at going back to what Maharishi was told to do by Gurudev, by his master.
Yeah.
Go out and give peace to worldly men.
Okay.
Go, and it's those people, they can write a check for $2,000 and not in a heartbeat, not think about it even. And there are lots and lots of people like that around. And then if you're teaching a company, for instance, a bit like Oprah Winfrey, she's taught 147 of her staff to meditate. She's paid for it all.
Yeah.
Then that would happen as well with other businesses. So that's the ideal. And then also, if people were earning that sort of income, if we were earning, the TM teachers were earning, sort of over £25,000 a year, or say £40,000 a year, I'm sure that they would then be much more on the side of helping the people that can't afford it as well, and backing that whole idea. At the moment, the issue is as it is, as I've laid it out to you. That's the issue. The TM teachers are not being paid enough.
So are you saying if you could charge like £2,000 for the training, you would then have enough to perhaps coach or teach somebody for free as a giving back to the community?
Yeah, that's another way. Yeah, absolutely. Funny you should say that, but the David Lynch Foundation, who I used to do introductory talks for at the festivals, the Isle of Wight Pop Festival, the festival, and the one on the mainland, which is again the festival. We're now doing something backed by the David Lynch Foundation, which is headed Heal the Healers Now. So we're aiming to raise funds to teach student nurses and nurses transcendental meditation free.
Yeah.
Now that's part and parcel of us being a charity.
Well,
as a registered educational charity. So it's an interesting mix at the moment. I believe it's all going to shake down, and with people like yourself having that input, I believe we're going to find a solid structure, a clear structure.
Yeah.
But what people need most is that this is life-changing.
Yeah.
TM is absolutely life-changing.
So,
just one thing on that. I don't think you answered the question about your burnout really clearly.
Okay. I have never experienced a burnout, to be honest with you.
Okay. Have you experienced it coming on or feeling like it's coming on? Do you know, like when you said about the other day when you said to me, oh, my eyes really ache gazing into a computer all day long, and you were rubbing your eyes and you were clearly tired. And I said about getting an air ionizer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, we talked about that.
So, but the thing is, part of TM is actually being aware when you are tired. Not be jacked up by the gotta mind, the mediglia, the stress response,
Yeah,
caffeine or adrenaline.
yeah,
It's not about that. It's that is not real life. You're not in touch with yourself there.
yeah.
So when TM, what happens is there's Andreas the tortoise, and there's his head,
Yeah.
and there's his 4 feet, and they represent the senses. So Andreas likes vanilla, but he doesn't like chocolate. He likes rock and roll, but he doesn't like reggae. He he likes Brad Pitt, but he doesn't like Kurt. I don't know many movie stars, but you know, your different preferences belong to vision, sound, taste, touch. We've all got our likes and dislikes, and we build an identity around them. When we do TM, and that's our identity, but when we do TM, it's a bit like the tortoise, there's Andreas the tortoise, and he's withdrawing his head and his feet.
Yeah.
Right? He's still Andreas.
Yeah.
But what he is now is Andreas aware of his own awareness. What does that mean? It means you're in touch with how your body really feels.
Okay.
So this is the key to actually stopping burnout happening. Right. Knowing that little voice the voice inside says, stop now, stop, take a break.
Right. So what you're saying is that because I've been doing and practicing TM, this is what told me that I needed to stop basically looking at the screen because my eyes started to burn. Okay, I get it. That's good. That's good.
It's just your body is teaching you how to live.
Okay, that's cool.
And TM is part of living. TM is just a more refined awareness beyond your 5 senses and beyond waking and dreaming and sleeping. The whole word transcendental means going beyond. Going beyond even your thoughts.
Okay, great.
And you've had some nice experiences, so I know you're doing it right.
Well, absolutely. It's been a bliss. You know, it's been absolutely great for me. So can I just go back to that moment when you talked about the charitable part of the organization, you know, the TM organization?
Okay.
So when we talked about Action Coach, we have what we call the 14 points of culture. Okay. This is basically the way that we work as coaches. And in, you know, point 14 of our culture and our points of culture is abundance. And so as a coach, even so it's a commercial enterprise, my coaching business, I still have to be abundant. And so therefore, I coach a charity in Portsmouth, Cash for Kids. I coach them for free as part of giving back to the community. And even so, you are saying that you are a charity and that you are, you know, in the first place, need to be giving back to the community. By looking at it from a slightly different perspective, whereby you make money as a teacher and then have enough money to give back to the community. It was just another way to work with a theme. Is that not so? Or you have a different opinion on that?
I'm not quite sure the distinction you're making. You do actually straight out, flat out work for certain underprivileged people, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Right. So we don't do that. And so what are you saying? That we
So what I'm saying is that
we're camouflaging what we do, or what?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you said before that first of all, it's not really a business, it's more like a charity. Okay. No. So therefore you can't approach it as a business, because foremost and most importantly, it has to be a charity. Now what I'm saying is the way that I look at it is slightly different, because with my Action Coach business, I still give back to the community, not as a charity, but because of my commitment to be abundant. And so if you look at your organization and you wanting to make more money, because at the moment, clearly you don't make enough money to even survive on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So what would need to change in your mindset, in your thinking of how you can make sure that you have teachers that make enough money, but also give back to the community without being too greedy?
Okay, well, I've got a radical idea on this, and that is that, well, one is that we already do something free. When we do an introductory talk, people walk away from that introductory talk always inspired, always knowing that there's something more that they can get out of their life, something more to be had from life.
Yeah.
And valuing themselves more, just from the intro talk, just like you were when we met in Gunwolf.
Yeah, yeah.
You came away from that, you were buoyant, you were then pecking me quite quite regularly to be able to start as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of life. To be inspired is a big part of life.
Yeah.
So I would think that it would be nice if the TM movement could actually train people as an extension of the intro talk with some mindfulness or what we call first entry meditation techniques as well, to keep them going. This is what we used to do in the festival and the different festivals that David Lynch financed, and not financed the festival, but he had a slot there to talk about his foundation. So yeah, I would like us to be able to give something to the person so that they can take something away with them. Now, that raises an interesting point, because I think that the way that would work would be if I did a specific introductory talk for people that couldn't actually afford TM. So this is beautiful, what's coming out here, because I wouldn't have thought of this had you not been in front of me, right? But you might think the idea is a non-starter, but I'm thinking about doing exactly what you're doing. You're doing something for charity that is clear boundaries on it. It's free, and you've done it, and you've, well, for us, it would actually satisfy part of the protocol of being a charity.
Absolutely.
So we set something up like an introductory talk for TM for people that can't afford it, and maybe they pay a little bit of a contribution if they want to stay on for the extra half an hour and have a few mindfulness techniques that we could, some breathing technique, some purring, some sound technique that you can do, anything that actually is quite superficial but gives them a little taste of TM.
Yeah.
And we would charge for that, but only like a donation.
Okay.
So that would cover the cost of the TM teacher's introductory talk. So there's mileage there. I've only just thought of that as a totally separate thing.
Good.
Doing what you do, and I think that's great. I'd have to talk to you about this later.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah.